Hi there. I'm about to talk about something that we don't normally talk about on Under the Big Tree, but it's really important. I just found out yesterday that I'm going to have carpal tunnel surgery shortly for my right hand. I've already had carpal tunnel surgery for my left hand, and it caused immediate improvement in my life. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what carpal tunnel is, how I discovered it, what the process was that I went through, and what to expect if you have the same problems. I never thought I would get carpal tunnel. Why? Because I have these big, thick wrists, and I thought that carpal tunnel only happened to people who had really thin wrists. But that's not true at all. What carpal tunnel is a situation in which the tendons that are inside of your arm get inflamed and swell. And what happens is they then push on a nerve called the median nerve, which goes from here up through here, and it feeds the feeling in your first three fingers, a little bit of your fourth finger, and part of your hand down here. So all of this stuff is handled by a single nerve. Now, when these tendons swell, when they get inflamed, they pinch the nerve, they push on the nerve, and then the nerve can't function properly. The result of that is that you get tingling and numbness. So the problem started for me about 2 years ago. I noticed when I was holding my cell phone for a while, or when I was driving, particularly on long drives, that my fingers would start going numb and my hands would start hurting. Didn't know what it was, but after a while I started to do a little bit of research into it and began to suspect that I might have carpal tunnel. Considering the fact that I've been playing the piano for over 40 years and have been a computer nerd for just as long, there's been an awful lot of repetitive stuff that my hands and fingers have done over the decades. So it sort of makes sense. I was talking to a nurse about something else that was unrelated, and I casually mentioned the fact that I thought I might have carpal tunnel and I was having these symptoms. And she immediately hooked me up with a hand specialist who then took a look at what was going on. Hard to tell from the outside just by a physical thing, but they could, test and tap on it and see how the hands are working. He then prescribed to me physical therapy, which I did. The physical therapy primarily consisted of stretches, hand and wrist stretches, as well as alternating heat and cold on the wrists themselves. It helped a little bit, but not that much, and having a busy life, it's really tough to go and do all of that stuff on your own all the time. So eventually they sent me to a specialist to confirm whether or not I actually had carpal tunnel or not. And the test that they do to be able to do that is they put electrodes on your arm, and then they put electrodes on your fingertips, and they shoot electric current through, and they see how long it takes for it to get there and back. And they're able to tell from the speed whether or not, in fact, your median nerve is pinched or not, and by how much. So they went through that and discovered that I had major carpal tunnel in my left hand and medium carpal tunnel in my right hand. Since the left hand was worse, that was the one that we opted to do first. Got into the surgery center at about 6 in the morning. About 8 or 9 o'clock, they put me under twilight sedation. I was sort of awake the whole time. The procedure couldn't have taken more than half an hour or 45 minutes. And as soon as it was done, while I was still sedated, as soon as it was done, I could immediately feel that the tingling and the numbness was gone from my left hand and the problem was solved. It's now been a year since then, and I'm here to tell you that it has been a permanent improvement, and it's improved the quality of my life immeasurably. My left hand has been perfect ever since the surgery itself. But after it was done, I was fairly sick of going to doctors and hospitals, so I opted to lay off and not do the right hand for a while. Instead, we experimented with shooting a steroid into the wrist to see if, since the right hand was not as bad as the left, whether that would solve it. It helped for about 2 months, but really not that much. And the problem has come back in spades with my right hand. So every morning when I wake up, I have tingling and numbness for about 2 hours across this much of my hand. In addition, I can't drive very long with my right hand on the steering wheel. And since I use my left hand to hold my cell phone, that's not a big problem. The other thing I do to be able to try to help it a little bit is that I have a wrist brace, a very simple one. There's metal here. Just bought this from Amazon. And I wear it on my right hand every night when I go to bed. Helps a little bit, but not as much as the surgery. So I'm really looking forward to the surgery coming along. So the time has come for surgery number 2, and I'm ready, willing, and able to do it, and I can hardly wait for the relief that is sure to come. So the whole point of this video was to say, if you've had similar experiences in either or both of your hands, don't be scared. I still play the bass, I still play the piano, I still type on computers, everything is fine. The surgery has done nothing to limit my hand movement, and in fact, all it's done has been to improve everything. It's a bit of a hassle, but the recovery is pretty quick. Inside of a week, you'll be using your hand again. It's not really all that bad. And I promise you that surgery is better than living with the symptoms every day, particularly because, at least in my experience, over time, the symptoms got worse and worse and worse. My understanding is that eventually permanent nerve damage can happen, and that's something that I desperately wanted to avoid since I live my life through my hands. So in any case, I will do another video after the surgery is over, and we will talk about it then, but I hope this video helps somebody out there who's concerned about this. Just to tell you that I went through the whole process, it wasn't that bad, and my hand works great, and I can hardly wait for my other hand to join it. That's it for now. Thanks a lot for listening.